Meanwhile, in the UK, they have finally decided, in a very limited sense, to return some of the historic and cultural artifacts that they have plundered from their former colonies, and they're giving them back, sort of. They're loaning them back to the countries that they took them from, but maybe for good cause. So let's jump into it. 2 British museums are returning gold and silver artifacts to Ghana under a long-term loan arrangement. So this is 150 years after the items were looted from the Asante people during Britain's colonial battles in West Africa. So it sounds really bad, and all of this is bad, but the reason they're loaning it back to Ghana is that the law in the UK does not allow for these cultural treasures to be simply returned. It's bizarre that that's the law. It's bizarre that the law can't be changed in 2024, but they are complying with the law in that they are loaning it back to the people who were sacked and murdered and dominated and plundered from. So 17 items in total are involved in the arrangement, including 13 pieces of Asante royal regalia purchased by the V&A as one of the museums at auction back in 1874. Why don't we bring up some of the photos of some of the items that are being returned? These are coming from a variety of conflicts from the 1870s basically to the end of the century. And here's the thing, it is good that 17 of those items are being loaned back, but just the British Museum has 239 items of this regalia for the Asante people. Now, I want you to think about, of all of the different conflicts in all of the different countries across all of the different British museums, how many cultural artifacts we were talking about. And 17 are being loaned back. Why don't they just give it back, David? At this point, you've had it. You've had it for decades and decades and decades. You've been able to just go to the museum and look at it anytime you want. Now, can you maybe give it back as a gesture of goodwill to a large portion of the world's population that you dominated for centuries? What do you think?
What they say, the sun will never set on the British Empire, and I guess it'll never set on the crown jewels that empire was able to loot from all these various countries and populations that they pilfered it from. Yeah, I'm this one I just don't get either. I mean, even if you say, okay, we've had it for hundreds of years, and maybe we can't technically, because of rules involving the crown or the royal family, I don't know, we can't technically just give it back. How about loan it permanently? Say, okay, we had it for 100 years, now it's your turn to have it for 100 years. And then 100 years from now, we can decide who's gonna get it next. And maybe the jewels go on tour around the world. And maybe they're not owned by anybody. Maybe they're just owned by the entire world. But it does, I mean, whoever's advising the British Museum on this in terms of public relations has failed. Because all you're doing is reminding people of the horrific stuff that the UK did for hundreds and hundreds of years all over the world. And why would you want to do that now? I thought, British society is better than that at this point, and that the UK is more understanding of their past, and this just suggests that it's not.
Yeah, I don't get, like, at this point, can you not have replicas in the British museums at this point? If people want to go and look at it, I'm sure you can create really compelling replicas and earn maybe some extremely belated goodwill from all of these other countries. I just don't understand it. I remember, I don't know if you saw it, but back in, I think it was like 2021, John Oliver did a whole episode on this about the looting of these former colonies and how difficult it's been to have some of this stuff returned and the black market for them. How is this still a thing that we are dealing with in 2024? We're not, this isn't Indiana Jones. Like, we should be able to be better than this, but as of right now, we're not. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.